Right, Risk and Assurance Committee meeting of Buller District Council commencing at 17:30. We have one apology from Francois Tumahui. So I will move that the Risk and Audit Committee receives the apology from Francois and accepts with, oh no, sorry, forget that last bit. That the Risk and Audit Committee receives the apology from Francois Tumahui. Do I have a seconder, please? Thank you, Your Worship. All in favour? Against? Carried. Now move to confirmation of, members' interests. Has anyone got any? I do, but I'll put it a bit closer. Members' interests. Are there any interests that people wish to mention that they don't currently have on their register of interest? I will report that I have two additional ones. I am now the independent member for Hamilton City Council on their Finance and Assurance Committee, and also independent member for Wellington City Council's Risk and Assurance Committee.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Right, confirmation of previous minutes. Sorry. Oh, I beg your pardon. Yep. So move that those additions to the interest register. Seconded. Thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Right, we'll move to confirmation of the previous minutes. Any additions, changes, amendments, corrections that anyone wishes to mention or has become aware of? If no, Councillor Reynolds, will start with you. Go around the table. Councillor Reynolds? Oh, sorry. And seconded, Councillor Hexton. All in favour? Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just on page 6, which I think is page 15, of the next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, 10 June. Was that when we were actually going to have it at the time?
At the time, Councillor, that was correct, and it was resolved by Council to change the meeting date.
Okay, that's good.
Does that need to be amended in there? Okay. Right, is there any other queries on the minutes? We have a move in and a seconder. Is that a query or a? Okay, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We'll move to the action points. And I believe that is Leslie.
Yes, good evening. The first one, first item on the action list is the Capital Works Programme report for the water upgrade. This was a report that was a councillor asked us to bring back, and a report has been brought to this RAC meeting tonight. The second item is the Resilient Explorer Platinum platform. I'll hand over to Simon Bastian to talk about that one.
Yeah, good afternoon, councillors. I just would like to request the council asked to defer this. There are a number of activities going on in BAU space that are stating that resources are being prioritised to focus on the reserve management plans at the moment, and the asset management plans as well. I would also suggest that this action could be removed. It's an operational software app that was introduced to the business over 12 months ago, and if council would like a presentation, we can still arrange it. It's probably going to take about half an hour, and squeezing it into what is always a very busy RAC calendar could be quite challenging. So I'll leave it open to the councillors to make that decision.
Thanks. I tend to agree this is sort of more council business than it is RAC, and I'd like to see it referred to the council.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just in relation to this particular one we're talking about, the idea, and thanks for that there, Simon. The idea of this was when in its infancy, it was presented to the then council, and there was a general agreement that yes, we'd like to see it. I know it's operational, but just there was reasons why it would be a good idea for then elected members to view. Now, I understand where we're coming from there and where Councillor Councillor Hinston is coming from, and also Simon there. So I like the idea of being able to see it in action, but given the current workload, I would be in agreement that perhaps we remove that from the action list.
Could I make a suggestion, Chair, that I'm happy, Colin, for you to come into council at some stage and we can show you it live. If that's an option, I'll put it to you to make an appointment at any stage.
So other committee members, you
I agree
with which one?
with Dave.
So you want it to go to full council?
Yeah.
So the option wasn't to go to full council, was to defer it or cancel it as an action point.
No, that was your options provided, Simon.
Yeah.
I put the option for that it goes to council.
We've had the option of it coming off, going to full council. We've now got two for full council. One is comfortable for it to go off, but we have it shown through with you. And at the moment, we've got nobody wanting it to stay on the rack. So what's other two councillors? What are your views?
So it's really question from the moment, it's not, we haven't actually moved us together for this, have we?
Well, we're discussing the report. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, can I, the reason why I commented the way I did before, Madam Chair, and councillors quite correctly said about our council, back in the day, of course, we had a committee of the whole. So as you know, everyone was there. So therefore it was in essence the council. So now we're saying, well, the five of us need to know, five elected members need to know how it operates. I'm going to say no, we don't. Because if the whole council wants to see it, then that's where it should be for the whole council. That's where you're getting that, councillor.
Right, so we have three options here so far. We have that it's operational and therefore doesn't get shown to any of the governing bodies. It is operational but of sufficient interest that it should be seen by a governing body. The governing body could be either be full council or it could be the RAC committee. So of those three options, could we go around the table and everyone give me their preference? I think it was you, councillor.
Good council.
Council.
To council.
Madam Chair, off the list now, please. 12 months down the track, I'm relaxed.
So you're not bothered whether it's RAC, full council?
I'm just take it off the action list rather than moving up to council. But that's mine.
Okay, councillor.
I tend to agree with Colin. Yes, it's been 12 months to take it off the list.
To council.
To council. Okay, so we have three to council, two happy to take it off the list. I don't have a vote, so that makes it a majority that get at whatever time it moves on to council action list
We'll just add it to the agenda.
for council.
The other option, Chair, is we add it to a workshop, so that we can actually have it at some stage in the future in a workshop environment.
So we could turn that into a motion.
Take it off the,
That particular item comes off the RAC committee action list, and will be
scheduled in a workshop.
shared in the workshop. Okay, put that one as a motion.
I'm happy to do that.
Oh, right, so move, seconder. Thank you. All in favour?
Discussion.
Begin. Discuss.
As I say, sorry, Madam Chair, I was just talking about the 252, 249. The 249 is a paper I understand brought to the RAC committee today, but Waimang Water.
Oh, I beg your pardon, actually, you're right. We've only covered that one item and we've still got until the.
Yeah, the other two. Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. Waimang Water. My understanding, and it's going back quite some time, when a budget is set, it's set. Now, if you come under budget, then that's it. Okay, you don't then say, oh, we're under budget, we've got this money free, let's use it for something else. The capital budget is there for a reason, and you can go right around the world and Google what it says about a capital budget. It's there for oversight. You just don't allow people then to say, oh, we'll just put it over there or put it wherever.
Could I call a point of order? Point of order.
Right,
We do have a paper at RAC today covering off that, so I just wonder, can we take that and address it then?
That would be a more prudent place to address it, given that it naturally fits in with the other CapEx.
I don't remember seeing a recommendation on that one. It was just part of the, if I can, it's just part of the capital projects. Is that correct? I can't remember now.
There is a paper in the RAC agenda, specifically on Waimangaro water, which brings that topic up.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll leave it go. Yep.
okay, so we'll let that go. So is there any further discussion on action points 249 and 252? Because we've yet to cover 253, which will go back to Leslie. Yes, 253, internal audit.
Yeah, we have no update on this. I'm afraid other priority work has meant that we haven't been able to progress this at this stage.
Any questions for Leslie, etc., on the internal audit?
Yeah, what period would that cover, Leslie?
The internal, it's a plan for how we move forward with our internal audit.
Okay, plan, so there's no dates
No,
fixed around that,
no.
but that internal audit that you're planning for would cover what period?
Certainly the next 12 months, but we'd probably go out for, I would say, a couple of years to start with, because of the reform. So
It's
there's
not
no point
uncommon to
going
go
in.
3 years,
Yeah.
and then you roll it at the end of the year, you review it, because you review it against obviously your risks. That's part of the thing you're looking at. And you also usually leave a small amount in for unexpected events, so you can audit them as well. So it's more like a living document. So you normally go 12, but for an extra 2 are what you're expecting, and then keep amending it as you need to.
I just have a question on the tools you're using for the internal audit. Is that the updated tools that we're bringing on board, or is that the old way of doing business?
So the plan would incorporate how we were going to carry out that. So it could be that it's an internal audit using internal staff, or whether we look to bring in a consultant or external audit.
Sure.
So that would
I was
all be
more
part of
talking
that
about,
plan.
remember we had a problem with the software
Yeah.
for the audits. And I was just wondering what sort of software we're going to use for this audit.
Yeah, so it's a different kind of audit. That the audit information that we're doing at the moment, it's mainly financial, and it's pulling those financial numbers, whereas the internal audit is more about process and controls.
So it's not so dependent on the mathematical stuff.
No, it's not.
Thanks.
Remember, the internal audit is an operational auditing as well, so it can be pretty much absolutely anything that you want to get reviewed.
Yeah.
So as opposed to the precise process of doing the externals. Right, so that's it.
Well, it's my understanding that this internal audit was requested by the previous council, and it's a year out of date. So what's the reason that that the request of the previous council hasn't been complied with?
Well, I can't say why it wasn't complied with previously, but since I've been here, we've been having to finalise 3 outstanding annual reports with staff that weren't here at the time those year ends were completed or weren't completed. So priority work that we've had to undertake, why they weren't done previously, I don't know.
I acknowledge it predates your employment here too. Okay.
Councillor Reading?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just for some background, yes, it was the previous council. For it to be taken off, the answer is no. The reason being is that the risk and audit is also responsible for not just external audit, but for internal audit. Now, PricewaterhouseCoopers, PwC, were brought in early last year, or middle of last year, I can't remember now, and they undertook an audit for the 2024 calendar year. They came across a number, they only audited 2 areas. One was payroll, the other one was accounts payable. They came up with issues on both of them, okay? The third one that they came up with was the Holidays Act, and they saw some great discrepancies there. We have not seen a report yet on the outcome of that Holidays Act and what potential, Madam Chair, risk there is for risk to the council for having to short pay and what have you. We haven't seen a report yet. It was also, if I may finish, where we're also, as I say, internal audit is your responsibility, Madam Chair, and the people around here. Internal audit, as I say, was picked up by PwC. There was some serious deficiencies. I believe we still need to undertake the internal audits by an exterior person until such time that we have confidence in the processes.
Okay, internal audit works like this. Entities, where they're able to gain the third level of assurance and the three level of insurances that you can have through internal audit processes, which can, as you said, be done by an independent body, or they can be done by an internal team, in which case I've done an awful lot of charters for these things, in which case you have a whole lot more layers of ways of trying to ensure the independence, which is a key issue in internal audit. So what I'm taking from what you've just been saying, also before my time, is that an external body was engaged to carry out internal audits on a range of specific matters. That an internal audit itself can be, I mean, I've done internal audits, I've done pretty much, I've actually internally audited the functioning of a risk and assurance committee. It can be anything that you need to look at, provided you've got professional qualifications to do it and you follow the processes. You nearly always come out with some matters for consideration, or sometimes some things that need to be addressed urgently. So we need to understand that when we're talking about internal audit here, my guess is that the previous council said we would like it if council could include in their annual plan some budget so we can have an internal audit program as part of our assurance that things are all tickety-boo, so to speak. Plus you also look for improvements, efficiencies. Now, some councils have not been able to budget for internal audit because they've had so many constraints in their finances. So it's a decision of the governing body, council or the board of directors, whoever, to decide whether or not they wish to allocate budget in the annual plan and how much towards an internal audit program. Once that decision has been made, then you would start to develop an internal audit plan, which again, as I said before, is based on risk. Sometimes you do a full forward sensitivity assessment, which is an internal controls assessment, but also includes a lot of detail around what they call sensitive areas and things like that, depending on how it's carried out. So it's not, I understand that you're focusing on 3 internal audits that were carried out in the past and where they're currently standing, but that is a different conversation from, are we going to have an internal audit in Buller? If we are, council needs to put some money in the budget for it, and then you develop a program. So that's the issue here. What you're talking about is not actually in the context of this particular matter. The action point was internal audit schedule to be created. To do that, first thing, council has to allocate some budget. So that's kind of like this topic. You're talking about something different, which is following up from actions of past internal audits. That is not on the agenda here. So are we clear about that? Internal audit, if it's going to be discussed here, is there a budget for it? If yes, we develop a plan. If not, you elected members need to put something in budget for it.
So acknowledging that point, Madam Chairman, then we are not going to recommend, or we're not going to make it happen. What we're going to do is we're going to recommend to council that they run an internal audit program. Is that correct? If we decide to go that way.
Well, again, the reason why it's hard to say that is because it depends on what council decides they want to spend their budget on, and we know we're all on tight budgets. I personally, as a certified internal auditor and certified fraud examiner, would obviously recommend it. However, I recognise, as have other entities that I've been involved in, that sometimes there isn't budget for it. So yes, I personally recommend it professionally, but I recognise there are other calls on council's budget, and that is a decision for the elected members of the full council when you go through your normal budgetary processes.
Yeah, sorry, just to finish off on my point, and I understand what you've just told me, and thank you for that. What I'm getting at is I would like to see an internal audit, and I would like that audit to be done by staff in-house. I don't want to spend money, ratepayers' money, on external contractors coming in. So with that in mind, I would like to see a motion put forward or something that will take this to council for a decision to go with an internal audit conducted internally by staff.
That is a second part that I would not want to include in the recommendation there, and that is because we do not have the data to make a decision as to whether it's best to go internal or external. And in actual fact, one of the workshops I was at with the audit, where the audit office, well, obviously the Auditor General, then now the audit office, they actually talked about councils doing internals and moving to externals, because they were literally getting better bang for their buck by getting external people in than setting up their own internal department. So that's a question you'd actually want to sit down, do the maths on, and work out what's the best option. So I don't think that should go in a recommendation here, because we're basically making a recommendation based on no data of what's best for Bullock. But I think if I would be, if it's the wish of the committee, we could recommend that council look at finding a way to set a budget to include some internal audit work. That would mean we could do that. Council, sorry, start here and go down.
Yeah,
Council,
sorry.
we wish.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Madam Chair. And I'll just ask a question, because this is on the action list. I assume that a decision has already been made that a plan is going to be formulated to do whatever audit was had in mind at that time, and there is money in the budget to at least pull a plan together.
Is the money in the budget?
There is no budget for an external audit, external internal audit.
Okay, but you're pulling a plan together for it, which is the action point.
Yeah, we could, yes. Yes,
Okay, and
that is the plan to do.
And once you pull the plan together for it, then I'm assuming then you're going to come back and ask money to, or ask whether council wants that to be undertaken or not.
So what we can do, and what I would assume is a little bit different to that, is to create a plan of what needs to be done, and then determine the best way to get a budget if need be.
So just getting back to the draft recommendation, is that the Risk and Audit Committee receives the action points for information, and it really just states that the plan will be formulated with the input from the independent chair of the Risk and Audit once the outstanding annual report is adopted. And that's it. There's got no more updates, because you're waiting on the independent chair to put the feedback. Is that correct?
No, I'm not waiting on that now. The reason we haven't been able to do it so far is because of the other priority requirements.
So would the committee think it's reasonable to have a recommendation that you do what you just said basically, or just leave it like it is at the moment and progress until Leslie brings something back, and then look about how it can be funded, if it can be funded?
We leave it as it is, as an action point.
Comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy with that, as long as we do action it, because like I said, it's been outstanding for a while. You know, I have full trust and confidence in staff, and I'll look forward to the action being done. Thanks.
So do you want to? Yes. We don't have a move in a second yet, because, and there's that extra bit to go on. Have you got what a super for the motion?
What extra bit? Oh, as in, yeah, no, I've
Yeah.
updated it as part of the action point to take it
okay.
off. So it's in the minutes.
Yeah, I think that was moved and seconded, and then Councillor Reid had another question. Is that correct?
Yes, we did have a mover and a seconder, and then
Yeah,
Okay.
the person will receive the action points for.
So I moved and seconded.
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll second it.
and a seconder. Right, sorry about all the muddle there that we got there in the end. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, we'll now move to the officers' reports and 5.1. Leslie. Sorry, Sharon. Yeah, absolutely. Right, full of holdings. Okay. you like to talk to your report or any particular point you want to draw out? The quarterly financial report and then the statement of intent, only if you've got particular points you want to raise. So,
thank you, Chair, Mr. Mayor and councillors. Thank you for the opportunity to come along today to talk to the report. So, firstly, the quarterly report. So I was paid to read, but I was just going to highlight a few points. So the
Microphone, Sharon.
oh, sorry,
You're out of
see,
practice.
we never had this flash technology in my day. So apologies for that. But the reports for the 9 months ended the 31st of March, as you would have read. So it's been a solid performance during that time by the group, and with an operating surplus of 1.34 million at that stage. I want to really highlight the continued ongoing strong relationship with council and the senior leadership team, which is very appreciative across the whole group, and is making for some good progress there. West Reef's had a solid financial period for those 9 months, and is performing slightly ahead of budget with an operating surplus at that stage of 1.4 million. I think one of the highlights also from, and not so much from a financial point of view, but more from the community contribution which is made. And for those 9 months, 33 groups in the community were supported by West Reef. With regard to Buller Recreation, it's also achieved a solid performance in that 9 months. And we've seen strong level of support for the recreation centre during that period. Costs are being managed well, and the trends with membership and engagement are particularly encouraging. So overall, the group continues to employ approximately 130 to 140 staff. So it does make it one of our district's largest employers. We are on target to achieve our distribution to council for the year, which is the 800,000. So, yeah, and I'm open to any questions that the councillors may have. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Sharon. Yeah, everything's looking strong and on target. Just got one question, and that is in relation to the proportion of revenue from always call it West Reef. You know, how much of that is external as opposed to council business?
That's a very good question, Mr. Mayor. I couldn't give you an exact figure, and I probably could come back to you with more of a percentage wise, but there definitely is a fair amount of external work now, and it's probably tracking around the 30%, 30 to 40% mark, but I'm happy to confirm that with some more accurate figures.
Yeah, that would, because I think it would be good too for not only us as councillors and shareholders, but also good for the public too, if perhaps, and I'm moving sort of on to the statement of intent, to perhaps include that as some form of KPI, so that we can all see, as you're growing that business, which you are, we can all see how the council percentage is actually decreasing and the value is actually increasing from external. I think that would be a helpful measure for us and for you too.
Yes, happy to come back with the more accurate percentage for the current year, how it's tracking, and we can certainly look at including something in the probably not in the ESOI as it stands tonight, because you'll be adopting that, but moving forward.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Reid.
Chair, and through the chair, Sharon, a very, very good paper from, as normal, from Steve. Always very good. One question though, please, and it's nothing against you, Steve, if he's watching. On the page 23, page 3 of the agenda, Steve's written that BRL's financial strength is supported by a shareholders fund to total assets. which is significantly above target. But as we know, council, BDC provide, or was upwards of 800,000 for, if you like, management fee. BDC also pay for CapEx work to do with Pulse Energy Centre. None of that's coming out of BRL. It's all externally funded. So when I look at it's a little, for me, it's a little misleading, suggesting that their shareholders' funds are quite good, because they make a loss every year, and that loss is, if you like, as I said before, it's reduced somewhat by the 800 that were paid. That's going to be $1 million this year, the next year, plus the CapEx, whatever CapEx. And then, of course, as we know, the auditors made us do a write down. I can't remember what the term is now in terms of the value of the building, because it's got no, I can't remember what the term is. However, there's no depreciation as such, because BDC pay for any CapEx work. So I just find this comment here, sorry, Steve, that it's not as accurate as maybe it could be. It's telling it as it is, but there are some external factors assisting BRL, if I can say. That's all. I just wondering how you felt about that, or I don't need anything in return.
I guess my comment would be that is talking about the whole group. However, I do take on board what you're saying, and I'll take that back to Steve, and just perhaps we could modify this a little bit more to reflect that. So, no problem.
Councillor.
I've heard that the 800,000 shareholder distribution is on track, but I did notice that the operating surplus of 1.341 million is below the annual target trajectory of 1.91. I presume that's just some sort of timing issue.
Thanks, Councillor Reynolds. Yes, definitely. Some of the bigger months in contracting are during April, May, and somewhat into June. So you'll see certainly more of an uptick over those months, so which will be reflected in the full 12-month period.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Sharon, excellent work for you and your team. Personally, I think it's a standout performance, and you've definitely benefited the Buller District well-being from a personal perspective and from a financial perspective. I just had a question on the $800,000 return, and I recall sitting in a meeting, and we were going to have an intent to achieve about $1.1 million return in and around that figure. And I remember you suggesting some investment in the future that was going to take that down to 800,000. Can you just remind me what that future investment was?
So I think we would be talking about the depot, the West Reef Depot project, which is and we remember we all went for a tour up there in the Unimog, which for you to have a look at around out. So that is really a huge body of work to be, which is currently in train, and so that's why there was a reduction in that year, to take into account the costs involved, the startup costs on the depot project.
Yeah, thanks. And that's definitely an investment in the future that we have all approved. So I just wanted to make that point.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions on the report?
I'm happy to prove that we received the report.
Microphone. Your worship.
Okay, I'm happy to move that we receive the Buller Holdings quarterly financial report.
Thank you. Second, all in favour? Yeah. Any against? Carried. Thank you. We're actually splitting the recommendation between the report and the statement of intent. Yep. So we'll move on to the statement of intent. Thank you.
So with regard to the statement of intent, councillors, you'll know that this is the final of the statements, final draft of the statement of intent. You received the one in February for consideration, and then you gave feedback back to the Buller Holdings board, and at that time you were preparing your budgets and we were finalising our budgets. And then a request came through from council for the additional 100,000 in the distribution. So we've built this into this statement of intent. The other thing just a couple of matters I'd like to highlight is further to the first draft, and Buller Holdings preparing their budgets and finalising them, and specifically around West Reef and additional costs around the current international conditions with fuel. So you'll appreciate that fuel is quite a major expense to West Reef. So where the board agreed an adjustment to the budgets for West Reef, which then flow on to Buller Holdings. So what's reflected here is a slight increase in expenditure to reflect those. So that's a little bit of a difference from the statement of intent that you did see back in February. The other thing I'd probably just like to highlight is that when councillors adopted the budgets and your annual plan, there was the reduction in repairs and maintenance. So we've still got to, we're working with the senior leadership team at your end, BDC and West Reef, working through that just to see what the implications will be. That is not reflected in the statement of intent because at the time that isn't, we don't know what that will be. However, we are still committed to return the 1.1 in distribution. It just will mean that that will be a lot tighter. So just for the awareness that there is going, potentially will be an impact in revenue with the reduction of the R&M. We just don't know what that quite looks like yet, but I want to assure you that we're working together with the team and infrastructure, well, overall with BDC. So they were the highlights from the difference between the two statements of intent. Councillor?
Yeah, so you just answered my quick question. So I was just going to ask, you know, what's the trending or emerging risks around that could potentially affect that payout. So that's really great explanation, Sharon. Excellent. And I think that we have such a great relationship that, you know, is a good level of trust there as well.
Yes, I think you've highlighted that well, Councillor O'Keefe, and I think that especially with the relationship between the councillors now and the governance team at Buller Holdings is with the quarterly meetings going, and the next one is I'm pretty sure in August. So we'll be able to regularly update you from the Buller Holdings end just about what are those impacts, and none of us really know what will pan out in the next, 6 months or a year, but we'll certainly keep you all up to date with how that's looking and how that could potentially impact the distribution. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. I'm happy to move that we received the Buller Holdings Group statement of intent for the year 30th June 27.
And also recommend that the statement of intent for the year ended 30th of June 2027 be adopted by council.
Correct. Thank you.
So they're again voted together, 2 and 3.
Yes, please.
Seconded. Thank you, councillor. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Oh, thank you. I'd just like to say thank you again for the opportunity to come along. We really appreciate that, and I'll come back to you with those external rules. Changes. Yeah, thank you very much. I'll pass it along. Cheers.
Thank you. So move to 5.2. Projects Control Group, and yes. Thank you.
just would like to introduce some key points from the Buller District Council Project Control Group report. So one of the first things I'd like to just mention is that the information management projects have been added, and you'll see a risk in there around the SharePoint migration and some resourcing risks that we've identified. On the construction side of things, probably more a general comment is that we are starting to see, it's not reflected well in this report, but we are seeing a lot of price escalations. And so we've received a couple of tenders recently, which are coming to council next week, where we're starting to see variation in our project budgets because of this. A key one I did want to mention was 9 Packington Street pipe replacement. So at the moment, this is showing, because this is the April report, we're showing a project of potentially $380,000, where the original budget was 270. In May, it was discovered that the pipe is actually going to be required to be larger. And because of that, the project is likely to be around the $670,000 mark. So you will see that on future reports, and it's quite a significant budget. So I wanted to mention that one today. I think Anthony's got something to add into that.
Your councillors will note when they get a chance to read today's newspaper, there's an article about that today, which helps summarise what went on. Well written article, of course.
So just a couple of other comments that I wanted to make around the stormwater. So we've been working through the funding agreement with Kānoa, and so that's near to be completely signed, so that will remove that risk. And we've also been working with NIFCO around the variation for the delivery plan there, and also what phase 2 looks like and scoping that out. We've put a proposal together. That's that.
Thank you. Councillor.
Awesome. On the variations that you've had with the project costs and quotes, is that consistent across all the sectors of the project, or are there some projects that have a greater sensitivity towards the fuel crisis as opposed to the cost of living crisis? I mean, or mud crisis or another.
So, a lot of ours are construction projects, so often that's PE pipe, for example, or bitumen. And so I think that's probably more related to fuel and materials. The other one is, of course, waste services. So, for example, plastic bins, the reason on the plastic bins has gone up 22%.
Directly related to the fuel crisis.
Well, no, we haven't yet had any notable instances of not being able to obtain product. So at the moment, we're quietly confident that we can get what we need. It's just the price is going up. We know one of our main suppliers has had a confirmation of some of their key pipe will be going up at the beginning of next month by at least 10%. So these are ongoing increases that will carry on. And where possible, we have instructed them to purchase materials prior to that price increase for projects that we know are going ahead. So being quite purposeful to try and minimise the impact of the various crises
So
around the
basically, you're
world.
trying to buy full. You're
Sorry?
trying to buy full, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
At a recent public excluded meeting, which involved plans and pipework, I as a councillor asked for all documents that I as a councillor was entitled
Councillor,
to.
this is
Yeah.
not public excluded at the moment. Please.
No, so I'm not mentioning the project.
Okay.
But the information was denied to me because there's no point councillors looking at it when staff know what they're doing. I would hope that that doesn't happen again, particularly when I'm dealing with a councillor who's been involved in infrastructure in this town over a long period of time, that sharing knowledge with councillors can save the problems that occurred here.
Okay, point noted. Councillor? Oh, sorry, I thought you had your thing. If you put the lights on.
I was just going to call a point of order because we're talking to this issue and we got on sidetracked.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it's
yes.
been noted and it won't happen again. We won't discuss anything that was ever in public excluded, even if we don't make specific mention to the project or person of worship.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a question, Jess. Other than, what we're facing with rising prices and different size pipes and all the rest of it. Are there any other capacity constraints that you can tell us about that would preclude the plan from being achieved this year?
In the sense of the projects that are due to be completed by the 30th of June,
Correct.
being completed by the 30th of June. Yes, I don't think we're going to be completing. I don't have the numbers on me. I haven't worked them out, but no, we won't be able to complete all of the projects that we would like to have completed by the 30th of June. But there has been a variety of reasons behind that. I wouldn't point to one specific problem. Each one is slightly different. Some have taken longer for design, for example. Others have had material delays or resourcing delays. So there has been a variety. There's not been one particular trend.
Okay, maybe that's something we can pick up offline and have a bit of a chat about. That'd be great. Thank you.
Councillor Reedy?
Sorry, Madam Chair. I haven't had a chance to put some questions forward beforehand, Madam Chair, so I've got a few questions and I'd just like the opportunity just to put them in the email later and park them for now. They're not biggies as such, just it's more for clarification than so I'll just follow it up if the memory serves me correctly.
Okay,
So
thank you.
thank
Very
you.
good. The
Yep.
points of detail, if
Yep.
they go out earlier, you get a chance to look at them and work out with what.
do I need to copy you in on that at all, or?
Copy me in as well. because
Okay,
it's come
thank
through
you.
the committee.
Right.
Thank you. All right, any further discussion on Jess's report? Oh, sorry. Actually, I tell you, it works better for me if people put their lights on because I actually spot lights better than I do hands.
You can put them on.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, I see what you mean. No, sorry.
Just
In
have
some
to-
places you can put a light on that says on next. You haven't activated your microphone. No, go with hands. I apologise.
Just on that, Madam Chair, I think, Caitlin, we've talked about that before. You can only have so many on at one time.
Yeah.
But there is something in the software, I think you mentioned to me, it can be set up so that people can actually be waiting. Can we have another look at that perhaps?
We can probably take that
That might
offline.
be
But
helpful,
it's just a habit that I'm used to is to look for the lights and not hands. So sorry, Councillor O'Keefe, please raise your hand. Yeah, so just getting back to the IAF program. So do you have good confidence that the phase 2 funding remains secure? And what happens if NIFCO does not approve the proposed variation?
So I should explain this. Variation is to the delivery plan, and that's the Alma Road work that we're doing. A lot of that's around, cash flow spread, those sorts of things. So I don't see any challenges with getting that variation approved. In terms of the phase 2, though, in the scope, we've provided them 2 options.
Okay.
Yeah. And so what we're waiting to hear back is feedback. I think they'll come back with a lot of questions, because at the moment it's reasonably high level. And so we'll start teasing that out with them. So it's probably a bit early to tell you whether or not we feel comfortable there.
Yep. And just on the sludge disposal, what's the plan moving forward with the sludge?
I think at the moment the plan is to draft the plan. It's
We're working through a number of options and we will come back to council with what that plan looks like when we work out the plan.
Yeah. So sludge options still to come. Yep. What else? Does anyone else? I've got a few questions, but I can put it all into an email if you like. I just haven't had time. It's been a very busy week. All right, thank you, Councillor. Councillor.
Just on the roll-on, roll-off, which was approved by previous council for emergency use during a Magate fault, which could be 10, 20, 50 years away, when the roll-on, roll-off facility is worn out, not been used, and there's never been any guarantee of vessels being available to use it. Is there any chance that this new council can review that decision and change it?
That would be a question for the new council, I would have thought. It's not really down to this committee to recommend that the new council reviews the decision made by the previous council. And actually, you've got to be careful that you don't end up relitigating every single decision that all past councils made. So that's just a general observation. I don't think it really fits with the project management report as we've got it, because that's on current projects, that have already been approved, kicking off.
Just to be clear, that project's underway and is subject to a funding agreement with the funding provider and is externally funded. So any future, if council made a decision to not fund it, we would, as a first step, the funding provider would ask us for all the money back that we've already spent. So it's probably not something that I would recommend that we would do.
Okay, good point.
Sorry, just on that, and I know sometimes prior experience can take you down a different path, but the only way I would see that we would actually take this to council as a recommendation that we review a certain project, if it was consistently running red flags of risk of failure. And then we would highlight it as a risk to the project for council's consideration. Other than that, I think what you said is quite correct, Madam Chairman, is that you don't, as a rule, use this forum to review projects, just kick it upstairs to the council, unless they're running red flags.
Councillor Keith?
Sorry, this one here, around the waste management, construction and demolition waste recovery facility. What happens if Grey, with all this reform and everything that's going on, what happens if Grey and Westland delay signing the agreement? And is there any risk around that you see? It's been a while. It's been since 2022.
Yeah, we've already got delays, I think. Yes. So Westland is no longer part of that agreement. Right. And so this is between Buller, Grey and Ministry for the Environment now. And that is still being worked through with Grey. However, I think we would then talk to Ministry for the Environment about what Buller can do as standalone.
Yes, I mean, we're confident that Grey are remaining in this project. Yeah. And yes, I think Jess is right. I think MFE would be of a mind to complete it with at least one of us, should the other two. Yeah, we'd expect that. They've committed a lot to this already.
Yeah, just on that too, because it's been quite, scheduled budget for that was a fair bit of a overrun, really, wasn't it? It was around, it was a variance of 279,000. The forecast was 670,000, wasn't it?
Because of going through delays, I've asked the project manager to hold off on doing any change documentation to reflect any of the baselines that we report against, just until everything's signed up, so that then we can be accurately reporting rather than just going change after change after change, which can be quite complicated. And so that will change eventually, but we need to get an MOU signed with Grey before we do that. So I've just asked him to hold off on that respect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any further discussion or questions on this report? If not, do we have a mover? Is it a mover or a question?
Mover.
So I was just going to find the motion which has gone with that on that the Buller District Council Projects Control Group report dated 24th of June 2026 be received. And we had a seconder?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks, Jess. And now we have 5.3 variations to the procurement report.
This is a new report that we've been asked to provide as a standing agenda. So this one is larger than what I would like to do in the future, but I did want to show last year's work rather than just the quarter for 2026. So I've included the 2025 approaches for procurement and where the exemptions were and what type of exemptions we were doing. And then I've moved into 2026 and I'll just focus on the 2026 quarters from here on. I think one of the key trends that I noticed was that, really we do need to look a little bit more into the exemption rules and what they are. We have to use the exceptionally advantageous conditions probably a bit too often, and so I've been doing a bit of work in that space, and also where the CCO where we can use exemptions in the CCO in a bit more detail. What I have proposed is a July workshop with council also to look at the values and the thresholds that we work within. $500,000 for an open competitive limit is quite high from what I see in other local government agencies. That is hard to really quantify because each government agency is so different. Some, for example, have professional services limits and construction limits, and so it is really hard to really compare apples for apples. But it is a bit of a theme that often people use 100,000 or 200,000, and so that's why I would like to workshop this in July.
That's really.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was a bit confused with the gender item, to be honest with you, only because of my knowledge. I tried to compare it with the procurement through the chair. Tried to compare it with the with the manual that you put out a little 2 years ago. So what struck me at the moment is the item number 15, which is on page 97 for us. Number 15, the rule is being used. That's the exceptionally advantageous conditions, and it's been used for a variety of reasons outside its primary definition. So I was just wondering if we could have some clarification on that, just as we're working through this gender item, and then maybe it comes out on a later on. We do a workshop, whatever for.
So the previous definition for exceptionally advantageous conditions through New Zealand government procurement was really around things like bankruptcies, which is a very, very rare condition. However, what we were finding, especially in 2025, was that we were in situations where to carry on with a new contract was better than, as we were in such a large transition flux that we were better to continue on with what we were doing, or there were specific reasons why actually then exemption was the best way to go because it would have been detrimental to projects or to other operational tasks had we gone through a full procurement approach. That's one of the reasons why I have done a bit more of a deep dive into what exemption rules we can use without going overboard, of course, because they still need to have some control around them. And that's why I'd like to workshop it with you.
Councillor Keith. So I suppose an example of that would be the waste services contract, how that's rolled over. I suppose, procurement is great. It's really good to have those controls in there, but then the flip side is it can cause this happening because you don't want to enter into that just yet because you're not quite there with every single little thing that you need to be able to get it over the line. So therefore, it just causes rollover, which then that can in turn create risk. It can make council look like they don't really know what they're doing. They're dragging the chain. It's that sort of external view in the public as well, especially, I can just use the waste one for an example. I'm hearing out there, council, they should just get on with it. So I suppose it's just, I think a workshop is a great idea.
So if I can just sort of add to what Jess has said. So the processes we put in place, in particular the work Jess has done over the last few years, has put controls in place so as when there needs to be an exemption, it actually goes through a proper exemption process and it gets the appropriate delegated level, which from time to time, like the waste contract, there's been a couple of others, has to come to council. So we've been really particular to make sure that the right DFA makes that decision. Exemptions typically go to Simon for sign-off, but exceeding his DFA will always come to council. So the fact that we have these and we've captured them, as Jess said, is a very good step in the process. As we iron out all the bugs and things that we didn't know about, then that number will likely fall. And for the people who are talking about the waste contract next week, you'll actually get to see what that outcome is.
So it'd be great to workshop it. I fully support that, but I think we need to come pre-armed or informed about a lot of pertinent factors, particularly the cost from council's perspective to go through the procurement system that you've identified here. And the other one is the cost to the providers, because, you know, when you're going out for tender all the time, it costs them money to put a tender forward. And I know it's a different environment, but an environment where I was managing project or capital projects below $5 million was like, you know, that was, I won't say chump change, but that was, we called them the minors. Anything over $5 million was major. And you have a break-even point. My point is that there's a break-even point when it becomes counterproductive for industry or potential suppliers to go through the trouble and the expense of putting a tender in. And you just don't, it's just not a good way of doing business. So, you know, a minimum sort of information requirement coming to the workshop was how much does it cost tenderers to put a tender in, or an option to supply in.
So it's just a general observation you're making, which I do understand, by the way.
It's just, if we're going to go down that workshop path, we have to have the information about, from both perspectives, on what it costs the council to go through that process and what it costs the tenderers to go through that process. Otherwise, the workshop will be just a shot in the dark, really.
Well, having had to write a 279-page proposal for a SAP project once when we knew we weren't going to get it, but it kept you in good with the very large entity, I know exactly what you're talking about. However, I think that as part of the general conversation at the workshop, the two sides of it and the actual cost of a procurement process, because at the end of the day, you've got to follow a proper process regardless, otherwise you end up with a whole heap of other problems.
Yeah, that's right. But in setting the limits, you can acknowledge what becomes cost effective. A good limit is cost effective. So if it's not prescribed on us, is what I'm saying, if it's not dictated to us by government, then we have the option to set it so it's still profitable for tenderers and us.
Through the chair, happy to do some research. It may be tricky to get true costs because each one will be so different. So they'll have to be estimates at best. And then the other part of the workshop will be around risk, around council's policies as well.
Councillor O'Keefe, did you? No, Councillor Reedy.
Madam Chair, thank you, Councillor. Just picking up on Councillor Hingston, we are guided a lot by GETS, the government electronic business. So we can't turn around and say, oh, we'll have a threshold of $1 million here or there or whatever. My understanding is we're still governed by GETS. What is the rule about that, please?
Local government can make their own thresholds. New Zealand government procurement have the central government thresholds.
Okay, I'll look into that. So, sorry, I'm not doubting that. My understanding was that it also covers local government, but I'm happy to look into that. I just want to leave that on the table, please.
Okay, Councillor O'Keefe.
I'd like to move the draft recommendation 1.
Seconded, thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks, Jess. And we've now got 5.4. Which is oh, Jess. Sorry, bad luck.
So this is a revised paper around the Waimangaroa Raw Water Project Closure Report. So this, for some that may be new to the table, was a project that was completed and in December 24, we were asked to provide a closure report to RAC. It's predominantly because of the project underspend of $450,000 and the fact that it's a targeted rate in this particular community for this project. A couple of the key items really were around the project scope had been reduced when the wastewater treatment plant, the water treatment plant that had been originally budgeted at 0.9 million came in with the tenders being around $2 million. And so that had been reduced from the overall scope and one of the reasons why the project came in under. When researching this, we discovered that in these situations, council retains the underspent budget within that particular activity. and then uses that in future capital work. So for example, with Waimangaroa, we have a project that we're looking at around untreated water supplies. And so that would be the type of thing that it goes towards. There was a question when this came through previously around rate increases that came through in the long-term plan from memory. And so we researched that, and that was where the rates had been adjusted to reflect the total cost, including the interest and principal repayments of the loan that was drawn down. And so it was a timing around the rates.
Questions? Councillor Keith.
So, with the chair, so you're saying that this amount of 457,000 will be sort of still kept and used in what Waimangaroa for future projects?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Councillor Edie.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it comes back to what I was alluded to earlier on, Madam Chair, and that is organisations, when they set a capital budget for any particular year, which is normally set either by a board of directors or in this instance here, by elected members. When a capital budget is overspent, we don't hear anything about it until we see it in the report, generally. When it's underspent, we're told, okay, it's underspent, but now we want to use that money for something else. But that doesn't happen in the real world, I'm sorry to say. And that is basically, the money hasn't been taken out, it hasn't been drawn down, so therefore the budget has come to an end. That's it, done. The budget's finished. You don't then keep money for something that might come up tomorrow or the next day. When you want to do that, that's part of your planning, your CapEx planning, and you put it into your next next annual plan.
Staff respond to this.
Through the chair, just on this particular project, we only rated for the portion that was spent. So the budget was set at 2.5 million. The cost of the project was 2 million. So the rating was only done for the 2 million. That extra that we came under budget, we haven't actually taken that out from the ratepayers. So it's not really there and available. So the project has just ended and the ratepayers paid for what it's cost.
I think what Councillor Reedy is trying to say is normally that, we haven't spent that budget, so it just goes away. But you have to look at it as budget and funding are two separate things. So the budget was approved and the budget is there. We haven't drawn down that funding, but there's no reason we can't because the budget is still there.
I'm sorry, can I just carry
The key point is that the amount that was rated for is the amount that was spent. So
Yes.
people haven't been rated for an extra bit of money that's now sitting there and not doing nothing.
Correct.
So
That is correct.
So therefore, to my basic level understanding, there's not really any question here. The amount people rated, it was spent for two aspects. So it's
the point I'm making though, Madam Chair, is that there's a suggestion at the 400,000, as I said before, it has not been drawn down yet. Okay, the 400,000, because it was approved under a separate CapEx budget, that, we'll keep that 400,000 and we're going to use it for something else. The point I'm trying to make,
staff response.
yeah, can I just finish though, please?
Right.
The point I'm trying to make is that when a CapEx project is completed, that's it. You don't transfer monies to somewhere else because then we lose track of it.
A couple of points here. First of all, in my not inconsiderable experience in the private sector, you most definitely, if you go on one, you will most definitely shift it to another one if you can. So that may be an observation that you've made, but it's certainly not accurate across large chunks of the private sector that I've worked in. Secondly, in terms of the cash side of it, the rate has been for this amount and this amount of cash has been spent. So I'll let Anthony respond. And then
I think one important point here is no project would be enacted unless it was in an annual plan or a long-term plan. So council has total control over what goes into those plans. So whilst the funding is there or it's not, or it's less relevant. If there is a project worth $100,000 or $400,000, it would go through the annual plan, long-term plan process and be agreed. It would be funded from whatever funding source is appropriate. In this instance, there is historic funding that would be made available, but that's the only time it would come up. The project, there is no slush fund projects that we would just throw money at.
Sorry, councillor Keith was been waiting a wee bit.
Yeah, just on page 102, under point 14. It says the benefits is that the further projects can be completed such as untreated water supplies, like Mokanui, Little Wanganui, to be made to compliance standards. Is that still actually relevant with the consideration that we just in that annual plan draft to submissions from Mokanui saying that they don't want to take the.
Oh, so the Mokanui and the untreated water supply, this is an example of a project that exists.
Yeah.
And so we do have a number of untreated water supplies that we're looking at. The Mokanui one is specifically being looked at as how we can actually just establish it as part of that. And that's an ongoing process that that will come back. It's looking likely.
I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Your worship.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'm just looking at the report here and just referring back to Councillor Reedy's comments or concerns. But if we look at point 13, we're not being asked to make a decision here. We're being asked to note 457 odd thousand will be underspent and carried over. So, Councillor Reedy, I take your comments, but in terms of this paper, RAC is not being asked to make a decision, rather note.
Speak to that, because that was my point, is that particularly around 13, we are not being asked to make a decision. I would question the wording of this because I think this needs to go to council to address, firstly, Colin's point that is it acceptable by the regulations that we can carry it over like that or not? And I think that's where the risk is. If it's not, and we put it into some sort of fund for other projects, then we need to identify that to council. But it will be carried over to the LTP. I don't think that's the right wording. I think is that's your recommendation to take to council that it be taken, carried over to the LTP. Yeah. So what I'm saying is we're talking here as if we were the council really, and we're not. We're the RAC. So the risk is that if this money is carried over to the LTP by the council, then they might be contravening the expense regulations around projects, leftover funds.
Well, I guess that's the question, isn't it? You know, do staff have the authority, have the delegated authority to pass this over to the long-term plan, or are they required to bring it back?
Exactly right. And I'm not sure that they do. So there's a risk.
Who approves the long-term plan? Thank you. So therefore, if this ends up in a long-term plan, it'll be council that will ultimately approve it. Councillor Keith.
I'd like to move draft recommendation 1.
Oh, sorry, councillor. Well, you can, yeah. But yes, we have, sorry.
First a question, and that is, where did the $2.5 million come from, of which there's a $457,000 underspend? Who provided the funds?
Through the chair, point 3, I've explained that it's a mix of hardwood rates at 2.3 million and 200,000 administrative health subsidy.
So look, my point is that it's not an underspend, it's an undersupply, that the ratepayer who supplied the money thought they were going to get some capital equipment which included treatment plant, and that wasn't provided. So the money that was spent by the ratepayer was to provide a certain amount of capital equipment, if you like, and that wasn't done. That's why there's a call an underspend, but it's come about because there was the ratepayer didn't get what they were told they were going to get.
Okay, that's outside of the scope of this. And the reason why I'm saying that is because you're now talking about the basically the full level of detail of a particular piece of infrastructure work. And that information is not available to the whole committee. And therefore it's not appropriate to have that conversation at this time. If the amount X was spent, X was rated, the two agree. Right? If there's any changes to the long-term plan that are being proposed, that will come to full council, that will be approved by council. If there were any issues around what the expectation was with the terms of infrastructure delivery and what was actually received, and I say if because I don't know, then that is a conversation to be had separately when the data supporting that particular thinking is in place.
I'd say having go back to council to make a decision what to do with the fund.
Councillor.
I stand by moving that draft recommendation.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Your worship, all in favour?
I agree with what you're saying.
Microphone.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Tony, fully, and I intend to vote for it. I'm just not happy with that wording in paragraph 13, because hence we request that RAC notes the 457,588 project underspend will be carried over. That's not correct. I mean, the recommendation is that it will be carried over, and that recommendation has to go to council to approve, surely.
Well, we request that RAC notes the overspend will be carried over to, how about be considered for carrying over to the long-term plan?
Happy as, well done. It's just the
Okay.
interpretation of that particular paragraph.
It's just the report. It's nothing to do with the recommendation.
Right, well, I'm being advised that we can't actually amend the motion in that way. And
It's not the recommendation, that's just part of the report.
I get that it's not the recommendation. What I'm saying to you is that this document, it's not accurate in its the explanation of what they want to do.
But the dilemma we have is that the motion currently says we received the report. However, my understanding from the committee is that there's a level of discomfort with one of the comments in this report, therefore we do not receive it. Now, I take advice from my governance colleagues that either we don't receive the report, which would be very odd indeed, or we do receive the report, but I'm not clear as to why we can't change it slightly in the motion for number 13.
You can amend the report.
But you can't amend that, but you can amend the motion.
Oh, that's what I was meaning, to amend the motion to about
I'm happy as a mover to have the motion amended. If you could just read out the amendment, is that, I mean,
It can just
to
be part of the
add
minutes. If the
part
report
two.
needs amending, we can
Yeah.
just include that as part of the minutes rather than actually amending the recommendation.
Okay, good as gold. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Right. All in favour of the amendment as is, noting there will be something in the minutes. Got 3 against? Recorded or no? Not to be recorded? Is against? Okay. Motion is carried. Right, 5.5, E. coli. Who's the lucky person for niche?
Right, council will be aware that earlier this year there was a E. coli measurement recorded at a sample in Reefton in the drinking water. This report and the this report and the attached reports identify the steps that were taken, what we identified, and some of the improvements that needed to be made with process to do this. It's worth noting that there is no definitive identification of how the E. coli occurred. However, none of the water was considered to be at risk because things like the available chlorine in the water remained at the appropriate levels. The most likely outcome is that the sampling point had some sort of contamination by bugs or vermin, which will have contaminated that sample, even though, as things you learn when you do this stuff, even though as part of the sampling is the sampler effectively flames the tap that they take the sample from, but there's still a risk that contamination could occur. And there's a number of possibilities around that which the report has identified. This has gone to Tamata Arawai as the water regulator. They have been fully informed around this. We also, just as a belts and braces exercise, had Stantec do an independent review of our processes, and that their report is included in there as well. And they support the conclusions that we raised. So we thought, given the level of risk that we had around E. coli, because that can be quite a serious problem, that it was worth closing this issue out with RAC. So everyone could understand what happened, what was done, and what the likely causes were.
Thank you. Councillor Keith.
So the chair, I'd like to say, this is great, it's a good report, and you've worked really, really hard, and you've done due diligence on it, and I suppose this is the effects now from the new, we're seeing these with the effects from the new water regulator, how they have to go further to find why, how we can fix it, and any actual learning, so we can make our waters safe for our people.
Correct.
So, yeah, this is an awesome job, and it's good that we actually made some learnings and that we're building good relationships with the water regulator.
Thank you.
Any further questions or discussion on the report? Councillor?
Just a question, was it just one failed test or a series of them over a period when the first one was found?
There's, through the chair, there was one failed test and all repeat tests, and they're repeated over a series of days. I think you need to have 3 clear days in a row. We sampled after that, positive result. We sampled across the town as well as that one particular point as well. So all of the subsequent tests came back clear.
Yeah.
Well, less than one measurable, very, very odd description of what an E. coli is. It's just a statistical measure.
Yeah, I'd accept that as a failed test, not a polluted water supply, just a one. Yeah.
Which I think was the conclusion.
Very minor.
My initial conversation when this blew up with, as I rang my counterpart in Tamata Arawai and said, it looks like we don't have a problem, and her response was, I don't care what it looks like, you go and test. And that was a very, very clear instruction, and it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Further discussion? Councillor?
Yeah, very quick, good job. I think erring on the side of safety and the well-being of the people, it's the right way to go. So well done.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Very thorough, good process. And I've had a very nasty experience with E. coli. So yes. Move it.
I would like to move that we've received it.
Second. Thank you, councillor. All in favour?
Which councillor? Thanks,
Reynolds. Reynolds. Oh, yeah. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.
Yes.
Ports and navigational safety.
Hello, everybody.
Thank you for coming, being here this late.
So take the report as read. Just one development since this was bedded down through Simon is that my role is changing. I'm moving to the regional council as the regional harbour master from the 13th of July. Congratulations for 2.5 years. It's a common role for obvious reasons around the flux around regional and the funding package that we've received through Ministry of Transport. So that's been relocation. So relocation to Grain or regional council has a base here, so that works out well for me who lives here. So yeah, so my role here was Harbour Master and Port Manager. So handling, we're very capable hands, leaving the port management to Annie Bell, who's been my 2OC for several years. So that's fantastic news. So all good. You'll see here doing this. So there's a press release that's gone out this afternoon. So that's a public thing that staff know. So yeah, any questions on any of this?
We'll start with worship.
Given that I've got two questions, given you're moving on.
Microphone.
Sorry, Dom, given you're moving to that new position, when it comes to the day-to-day safety operations through Westport, how will that be handled?
Well, navigational safety will be my responsibility for the entire region. So I'll still be that, and I'll work closely with Annie and closely with Gray around commercial shipping and the bars and the harbours, but it will extend to lakes and rivers and etc. So yeah, I'll be here, and we'll be working closely with how things are happening down here. As far as the commercial side of things, yeah, that's across the port management. Navigational safety is still me. My phone number remains the same, so it all comes to me still.
That's slightly different though than the model around the country, where if you take the Port of Littleton, for example, you've got a regional harbour master who has certain responsibilities, and a harbour master employed by the port company or the owner of the port, in this case, who is responsible for some factors as well. So I think that needs to be checked out a little bit, because it's always been a bit of a unique situation between Buller and the regional council. And all I'm suggesting is that check out the legal side of that, because it's a bit unusual the way we had it, and now we're changing it. So we just need to make sure we cover that off.
A couple of things there, Mr. Mayor. You're quite right, it's been a bit unusual here. The West Coast region has been the only place that hasn't had a regional navigational safety lead, so the regional harbour master. What we're moving to from 13th of July is exactly the same as many other places. In fact, yeah, you've spoken about Littleton. So you have a marine manager or a port manager. This role carries on, and you have a regional harbour master. So, you know, Environment Canterbury have you know, a fairly well-heeled regional council, and can have other people that have different responsibilities. They have a deputy harbour master who does recreation. They have a deputy harbour master who does the commercial port, but they all report to the regional harbour master. So we've caught up in effect with everybody else.
Actually,
So,
just reminded me of
Just
something.
interjecting here, while this is incredibly interesting for me personally, are we going slightly outside of the scope of the report in terms of talking about the way it's could possibly be structured in the future? Because I feel we might be, even though
I'm actually talking about risk in terms of, sorry.
yeah, but if at the moment we've got X, we're going to have a change, which will be Y.
Yep.
And when we get the information about Y, then we would go through and review whether there's potentially any change to risk or new risk, etc. Whereas at the moment we're being a bit speculative because we don't have the data.
I'm not sure we will get the information as to why, will we?
Well, the regional council has delegated to Simon and to me to manage navigational safety. They're essentially withdrawing that and doing it themselves. So BDC is out of the mix, and the regional council takes the risk directly through me instead of delegated how it is now until the 13th.
So the risk is transferred completely from BDC and going elsewhere with regards to navigational safety.
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor
And
Oh, sorry.
sorry, if I could just finish that. The point that I was going to make was that you just raised a good point in terms of the port harbour manager, regional harbour master, is that name was changed to more like a marine manager. So that's where my confusion is coming about. Yep. Thanks for that.
Thank you. Councillor Keith?
Well, I like to say around the chair floating pontoon, it's good to see some risk being taken away with spending money on that rather than earning money from that, and it'd be great to see that somehow expanded so we can fill those that waiting list and start to get some more revenue in around the harbour for a change. And one last thing, just the is there any more risk around that little wee sunken boat that is that all just being managed well, and there's no risk around pollution or?
No, I don't believe so. We've had several bouts of floating pollution control around it, and we haven't seen any for a while. Yeah, booms around it. Sorry, and we've been monitoring. We haven't seen any more pollution come out of it. Keeping an eye on it every day. But yeah, as far as a navigational risk, it's not an issue, and we continue to go quietly through the process to align with port works that are happening as part of RIF. So there'll be machinery there, so we'll be able to remove pretty simply. That's the plan. Yeah, so there's no rush. It's a berth we're not losing revenue because of a sunken vessel there. It's essentially condemned. I'm not allowing anyone to use it. So yeah, it's just continues on.
One last thing, congratulations on your new role, and you've been an amazing asset to us, and I'd just like to welcome Annie in because she's also an amazing asset to us as well. So thank you. Thank you. Now, Councillor Reedy and then Councillor Hingston, and then we will go to the vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thanks, Tom, for the paper. I'm not. I know the question I'm going to raise is not on this agenda item. However, why do we not have any financials involved? We haven't had any financials for the port since July of last year. We're now into June. Sorry, as at July last year, it was presented in September.
You identified that is not the matter that is on.
Right, so I'm only asking.
So
Madam Chair,
no,
it used to be in the rank agenda.
that is sufficient,
Okay.
right? There are lots and lots of things that could be on agendas that are not, but we're not going to discuss every single potential agenda item during this meeting. Councillor Hingston.
Right, at the risk of being gavelled, I have a question I have that is not one of the three here, but it's related to it. I know, right? There is another floating pontoon or the wharf section that I noticed that's next to the river trail, the Kawatui Trail on the river that's sectioned off, and it's got a big safety thing saying wharf closed due to access and problems, and it's falling down into the river.
Cattle wolf.
Sorry?
Cattle wolf, I guess.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my head around what.
Yeah, it's, you know where you go to the bridge to nowhere, whatever we call it. And you go down towards the Kawatui Trail, the river trail.
You mean over while we're going past the yacht club?
No, it's the other end.
Yeah.
Can I ask what the actual question is?
No, 100% sure.
With what I'm saying is there's a wharf that's in disrepair. It's on the river. It's not, and it's falling down around on itself, and it creates a safety hazard. I just wondered if we were doing anything about that.
The old cattle wolf.
Right. Yeah. With it's got a we monitor it and keep an eye on it for sure. We haven't had anything that's fallen down at the moment that we've seen, but maybe we can engage further outside the meeting. You can point in the direction if you like. Happy to feedback.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead and move it. Your Worship, seconder. Councillor, all in favour? Against? Carried. Now move to artificial intelligence.
Thank you.
Congratulations on your role. And on your new role.
The dog rolled over and speeding around the boats.
You get tickets for speeding the boat.
Oh, some fortune, I'll be.
Through the chair, I'm presenting the draft artificial intelligence use policy report. I will take it as read and answer any questions. This just went to staff consultation for feedback on Friday, so I can also add any feedback from this meeting.
Discussion and questions on the report? I'll take it that there isn't any then.
Perfect.
Just as an item, this might be helpful in terms of this, because some of my work, I end up reading things on the audit office thing. And I noticed the other day some stuff I was reading, and they put these nice little disclaimers on as to whether or not they use AI or not. So if you haven't already seen them, I thought I'll take a copy because it might be useful for yes. So one's a disclaimer where they weren't using it, one's a disclaimer where they were. And I think that's when you go on the web, it just pops up there and nice little blue box. So I thought I'll bring it along just in case. We have got questions, discussion.
I just moved the draft artificial intelligence use policy report date 24th of June 26 be received.
Thank you. Seconder.
Oh, okay.
Councillor O'Keefe. Is that you?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, discuss away.
So I just want to make sure that we're looking at this from both a risk and an opportunity perspective, Francis, not just from a risk perspective. I know that there tends to be a focus in this committee by its very nature that we look at risks, but I just want to make sure that the opportunities are also there and considered alongside with the when we draft the policy.
Yeah, so I mean, in the executive summary, it talks a bit about how it does present opportunities for productivity and innovation. And we are already using it in numerous ways in different platforms. So we use it in our Let's Talk platform to analyze sentiment. We're using Copilot to, for example, create artificial intelligence use policies. And yeah, so it is in use a lot already. But this is about putting those safeguards in place so that we can be open about how we're using it, and the public can be assured that we're not going to use it in any harmful way.
Great.
I think one of the key points in there is the fact that you've said there's always got to be human. I mean, I use AI a lot, and I've worked in firms where I've used AI a lot, but you've always got to put the human bit over top of it, and you've got that covered nicely. So
I think if you just think of it as a tool instead of, a sentient being, which some people think to, it's just a tool that you use to help you do your work. So you're always responsible for that document that you're presenting, that you're preparing. So.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I think thanks, Madam Chair. I think the paper was well written, and in terms of the opportunities, you covered that off, pretty well as you went through. So, yeah, it's a good job. Thank you.
Councillor Reading.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to be clear that this policy is a staff policy. It's a staff policy only for use by staff, and is only being provided to the committee for information only. It doesn't govern anybody else. Am I correct in my understanding?
I mean, it's BBC personnel, so that includes contractors. It also includes councillors.
Can I just comment? I think that's not correct. It doesn't include councillors. I think Councillor really makes a good point. This is a staff internal policy. However, I would say this is really good guidance for the safe use of AI. But it is not something that you're adopting or asking the wider council to adopt. But I think there's some good things in here, particularly around the risks of using unsecure AI tools. So obviously we can use Copilot, but if you're putting personal data or information that you're getting through your role into ChatGPT, that's a risk. So I think this provides overall guidance, but it's not something which is a formal council policy which applies to councillors.
Yeah, it is good guidance, and I mean, I've seen AI be utterly completely wrong in terms of a regulation, which is very specific. And I knew it was in the regulation somewhere, so I thought I'll ask AI and just, and it said it wasn't there, but I knew it was, So, but no, this is really good guidance, and I recommend it over and above.
All right.
So we put the motion, or we've got more? So all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.
Through the chair, I'm also presenting the information management update report. I will take this read and answer any questions.
Excellent. Any discussion or questions, or any questions, sorry, on the management report, information management report? That's okay.
Up to the chair, look, this is bad. This is like a real issue. So just a couple of questions. How much additional staffing do we actually need to make council feel like they're on top of it?
I mean, information management, you could have several positions under it that are currently not in that team. So for example, Lagoima.
Yeah.
And, official information requests going through the information management team, which makes sense because the IN team has access to all the information. You can also have LIMS through that, so land information memoranda. Property information is another, that's not a position that we actually have at the moment, but this is to do with if people are asking for information that relates to their property. That's beyond a LIM, sorry, not beyond a LIM, but it's aside from a LIM. Having someone there who can gather that information as well. Then you also want an archivist. We haven't archived any, well, we've never digitized, we've never archived any digital records ever. We haven't archived any physical records since around 2012. So yeah, manager, LIM, Lagoima, property, archivist, and then you'd probably also want a general support person.
Yeah, through the chair, I think, that is ideal.
That's the ideal.
That would be ideal, but I think for a council like us, I would like to see at least 3 FTE in that activity.
Can I just have one more question? So, with the lack of staffing and the lack of support, this is also through our risk register quite heavily as a risk to council. So this has actually been highlighted. But is it causing compliance breaches or any breaches with Lagoima's not having the staffing on it? Have we seen not many issues arise from that?
I think as far as Lagoima is concerned, the problem is we just don't know because we don't have the staffing to actually, the information is everywhere and it's a case of not knowing because we don't know where information is and we can't gather it easily. Breaches really are, this is why we have a disclaimer on our Lagoimas that, we've tried to find the information, but we kind of disclaim the fact that we may have some missing. And it's mainly because information is not, we don't know where all the information is.
So just finally, I think, do you think council needs to revisit this further as far as reassessing it? Because I know that we didn't approve the funding. I think that because it's so intertwined through every department and such high risk red that we probably, do you think that council would be, I think it would be good for us to go back to council.
Yes. So currently what we're trying to do, because the decision is just restructure it slightly.
Yeah.
And amalgamate it with the information technology area in order to potentially have 1.5 staff maybe that we can bring in to actually do the doing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would like to revisit it for the LTP.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So really this needs to come back to the LTP.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Oh, no, I said you could go first because you put your hand up there.
All right, thank you, Madam Chairman. So this is a great report. Thank you, Francis. am I okay to go into discussion now, or do you want to just keep it to questions at this stage?
So you're not got, we're done with questions. Are you done with? Is there any further questions for Francis, or are we into discussion?
Discussion.
Okay, so we'll take a motion.
Okay, move it. I'll second it.
Thank you.
So the discussion is that firstly, well done. You're operating in an environment of scarce resources, and you're asked to do, quite frankly, more and more with each development, technology development, and everybody using information management at council meetings when they shouldn't. And you're more and more challenged. So firstly, I want to say thank you for your efforts today. They are acknowledged and appreciated. Second thing is that I fully endorse what you just said, Tony, about sending it back up to council for consideration. I know we voted on it. I know we were split. I know where I voted. But this is going to be a major risk going forward unless we address it. And, you know, we made that argument at the time. So I fully endorse this going forward to council. And I'd even like to see a draft recommendation that this report be presented to council as a matter of urgency, because it's still fresh in the minds of the councillors.
Could I just comment? I just want to caution you that, so council on Tuesday are adopting the annual plan. So it is too late for any budget adjustments now. The decision's done. I think what Leslie's suggesting is a sensible, pragmatic way forward. We will going to try and work within the envelope we've got, and it's not an ideal solution, but we will revisit this as part of the LTP. Yeah, and it will be something we will look at and consider how we mitigate the risk. But the importance of Francis's report, which is really good, it gives you a sense of where we're complying and not. And we will, as staff, try and address that as much as we can. But in terms of altering the budget, it is too late within the process.
Acknowledge, thanks for that. Just to follow up on that then, is that council still needs to be informed about the ongoing risk. So an ongoing brief that presents the results of your monitoring of the effects of not having these additional staff would be useful.
So there's one thing, and this is obviously the first time that RAC's ever seen this report, and obviously that this will be a regular update that we can bring back through RAC to monitor that risk and report to you on that. So expect to see more of these reports.
So any further discussion? So I would be fair, his worship, Councillor Reedy, and then Councillor Reynolds.
Me first.
Yeah, you first, because that's what you.
Thanks for that. Yeah, I agree with what Councillor O'Keefe and Councillor Hinkter have said, except I'll change the wording slightly. It's not going to be a risk going forward. It is a risk already. And what's going to happen going forward, it's going to get bigger and bigger if we don't have the resources to get on top of it. And when council at the last meeting, voted down that extra position, in one little area of this, that did raise risk at the time. So I think it's something for the Risk and Audit Committee to keep their eye on, and a decision made about pushing it back to full council to support staff and what's required at the future.
Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not sure if it's part of this agenda, but as CEO's quite rightly pointed out, this is the first time we've received a report like this. Didn't receive one last year or the year before.
Colin,
yeah, okay, I take it. All right.
History and
we're going to stick to this. Yeah.
This is what we're discussing, this report on this agenda. Okay. Councillor Reynolds.
The way we record data, the way we store it, the way we retrieve it has morphed drastically over the last few decades. I see this as an honest report. We're not going to get perfection with that morphing, changing technology, and it's just the way it is. And if you throw a lot more resources at it, we're not going to get a perfect answer in any case because of the way systems keep changing. So well done on an honest report, and well done.
Okay. Right, so I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Recorded?
Please.
Okay. Carried, and we'll move to health and safety. Oh, no, actually, and then fairness to everybody. 10-minute break.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Just send me a text next time. No, don't. Right, so we back at, back at 7:30. That's 11 minutes exactly. We'll restart the meeting at 19:31, and sorry, 7:31 PM in Europe now. And go to the health and safety report, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to present the health and safety report for Q3 of 2025-26 financial year, and this is for the performance of our the organization's health and safety over the periods from January to March this year. Also to mention that one of the key trends that is quite important to mention is the improvement of health and safety activities over the last quarter and at council, and also to mention that health and safety forms part of employees' KPIs. So, in order to ensure that everybody has a culture of good well-being, as well as to improve health and safety in the workplace. So I would take this report as read. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Right, any questions? No questions at all. That just shows it's an awesome report.
Thank you.
Because we can do have the motion. Oh no, sorry, Councillor O'Keefe.
So just really around what measures have council put in place around events, including levels of aggression from the public and the staff feeling safe? What measures have been put in place?
So we're making use of our EAP support services. So we've got a well-being consultant, which is Westport based, which we have contracted with, and that helps with staff can speak to them about the any of the conflict situations or any forms of aggression with the public. And we also have a local psychologist that we've also contracted to, which is Bernard Smith, and staff. We pay for that for 3 free sessions as part of the EAP services to assist staff that have been affected by aggressive members of the public. And we're also sending them for training, which is situational based training, to help them deal with this type of conflict situations, and to conduct themselves, with more confidence and calm, just to know how to react in a bad situation. That's all we can basically do at this point, but but it has definitely increased substantially over the last year.
Shantha, do you want to mention the policy we put in place that we're talking with, dealing with customers who
yes,
is it mentioned in the report? That's quite a useful, and the things you talked about
yes, the unreasonable complaint conduct policy. We in the process of developing that. It's going through a consultation process at the moment with staff, and that will be rolled out. It also sets out parameters on how to deal with such situations.
One last question. Is there like a panic button or anything behind the desk, or like anything like?
Yes, we do. It's called green button.
Okay.
So, yes, we have that at customer services, and the staff do engage with that as well.
Thank you. Councillor?
Yeah, thanks. I think this is an excellent document, but I'm going to be honest and upfront. I haven't read it from cover to cover, and I don't have full retention on it. I did skim it, and what I want to ask is, and well done, good work. What I want to confirm though is there an escalatory option within our policy, our approach? And what I'm meaning by that is, Tony alluded to it earlier, is that if staff feel they're getting threatened or treated badly, there's a level of response that we have, and we do these things. But if it gets worse and worse, and we start getting things like more and more death threats, more and more escalatory measures and threats, this health and safety of all personnel here, councillors, mayor, staff and all that. Do we have an escalatory approach that we start, at this point here, we bring in police. At this point here, we bring in, you know, security guards, that sort of thing.
So, yes, we trespass, you know, staff that are, you know, who make threats or, you know, who misbehave, so just, or treat our staff badly. And we also use the police. We don't have security guards at this point in time because it's also the cost implication, but that's probably something that we need to look at for future because of the risk involved as well, especially after the earlier presentation. I think there's a lot to be considered in that space as well.
So there are immediate measures that you undertake, yes, and there are measures that you can choose to undertake should the situation deteriorate, yes, or increase in threat.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So through the chair, that the unreasonable complainant conduct policy has an escalation mechanism. So if a staff member logs within our health and safety system that they've received something threatening or abusive, and it can be just something swearing down the phone, then we write to the customer and say that's unreasonable, and they get a first warning. If they do it again, they might move to, well, you're not allowed to contact by phone anymore, you have to go to email, and it might be through a particular dedicated email address. And it's just making sure that staff feel that they are protected from those kind of escalating situations. And customers also have a line, and they understand what they can do, what's acceptable, what's not. There's always going to be frustration and anger because someone might feel they're not being getting the service they require, but it's no excuse to take it out on staff. So we make it really clear to customers where the line is, and we escalate if required. But our first measure is looking after staff safety and well-being.
No further questions, because we can have the motion and then have a debate. Seconder, thank you. Any debate, discussion? Councillor Reedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mentioned it verbally earlier on. It's not on the discussion time now. I just want to, through the chair, I've said it before, Shantha, and I'll say it again. You and Robert have just brought the standard up quite a lot to what it was before. I'm not saying it was bad before, but there's a lot more structure to it than what we had previously. And having Robert on board has just tended to give us more and more, if you like, descriptive analysis of what's been going on. So I just want to thank you. And as I said to Robert and you ever there, loose change doesn't fall from my lips, so I actually mean what I'm saying. So thank you for that, for bringing it up. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Yeah, just from me, Shanta. Thanks very much. It's a very, very good document. And together with that and what we got on the port navigation tonight, that's a big step up from our last RAC meeting. So thanks for all the effort and work you put into it.
Yeah, thank you. In that case, I will put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks. And we one handbook. Is that to the health and safety handbook?
Yes, so I'd like to present the Health and Safety Wellbeing Handbook, and this is a guidelines document that also forms part of the CEO's KPIs, and this is something that all staff will receive as part of their induction, especially new joiners, as part of the health and safety induction process. And we also this forms also an internal handbook that's provided and illustrates the guidelines that for health and safety and well-being for all staff within the organization. Thank you. I'll take it as read. So any questions?
Any questions specific to the handbook, Your Worship?
So is this new or an update from what council had previously? The handbook?
This is a fairly new document. It has morphed quite a bit from many years ago. So it hasn't been in use. So this is fairly so basically a brand new document.
Okay, oh, that's good. I just like to, reason I asked those questions, just like to acknowledge, you know, the progress that's being made in a number of areas around council. This is another example of that. Thanks.
Any further questions? Councillor Reddy?
Madam Chair, I'm happy to move the draft recommendation.
Thank you, councillor. Seconder? Any debate?
Discussion.
Discussion?
Discussion. Again, you know, it's a great document. Well done. I mean, you're just going from strength to strength here, and I'm sort of running out of superlatives to say that the council work to date is first rate and exemplary. Thank you.
Again, yeah, I just concur with Dave, but I just maybe just a suggestion around barriers for people understanding. If people would have learning difficulties and stuff like that in comprehension. I also suggested we have a subcommittee handbook, and we're developing health and safety around that. Another tool could be to add like a wee video or something to sort of explain a bit more. I just think, you know, that use as many tools as we can to get the message across, because we have to reach everybody, so we just don't want to miss anybody out along this journey. Yeah. Noted. No further discussion or debate, depending on your reading. In that case, I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
511 and Legomas. Simon, you doing Legomas?
I'm just happy to take any questions. This is just our regular update, so I think everything is self-explanatory, so happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Your worship?
I'm sorry, we've got a measure there of how many Legomas sort of extended in time. But we don't have a measure there of sort of within the 20 days, how we've been going, how we've been sort of responding to those. I know there's only one person doing it, but I just wonder whether it would be helpful to say, well, you know, after 10 days, after 20 days, that would be helpful to throw another number in there. That will give us an idea of, you know, how we're responding, whether we're improving or not within the 20 days.
So on the, I'm not sure if this is answering your question, Mr. Mayor, but on that graph page, which is 233, that's both the numbers. You've got the average days to complete, so that that's an average measure. So those three breaches that are in red on that lower graph are the outliers, and those were pretty exceptional. One was due to an email coming into one inbox over the Christmas break, and it just, due to people being away, it wasn't forwarded on to Legoima. And pretty much the same for the other two, actually another one, and then we had one, and you might remember Kevin Smith came in, and because he'd used the FYI org rather than direct to us, and where there was a technical issue where we didn't actually receive it. So those breaches, those three breaches in red were the exceptions. On the whole, we're doing reasonably well, I would say, in terms of processing those Legoimas 13.8. Given we've got one person doing it, it is shared across the organisation with the subject matter experts. But obviously, the more we are noticing more complex, more involved Legoimas, and that does often require a lot of input from the finance team particularly, which can mean that we're having to fit that around the BAU work, and with the finance team being so under the pump with the backlog of work, obviously the annual report, it does mean things slip out. But I think 13.8 days on average isn't too bad given the resource we currently have, and you've obviously heard about some of the challenges we have in the IM space as well. Thanks for that, Simon.
Question?
So Simon, and I already know the answer to the question, but forgive me, my questions normally come from a point of making the point at the council table or at the REC, is that what resources would you need to stop the breaches and bring down the number of days that would be effective use of finance?
Look, Councillor, I don't think it's not just about resourcing. It is, as we heard earlier, about having the right systems in place and making sure that we have a really good handle on our information. It would be good to be able to press a button or just do a search and doing a federated search across your databases to say, okay, here's the information that's been requested. But we're not in a position to do that because of system issues, because of resourcing issues. And also BAU just overwhelms sometimes. We don't have the luxury. I mean, when I worked at Dunedin City, we had this function sat within the governance support team and was coordinated by 3 or 4 people. And there's always going to be bigger councils have bigger requests potentially, but it's handled a lot easier. They have the ability to absorb those shocks. But as we talked about earlier, if we'd have a team of 3, I think we said ideally in this sort of IM space, it would really help. And if we did our digitizing, it would be a lot easier to search and pull up the information. Because sometimes with Legoimas, they're not just current information, they may go back decades. We don't have all those historic records digitized. So it's not just one thing, it's not just about resource, it is about systems as well.
Okay. Well, there's no further questions. Would someone like to move? Seconder? Thank you, Councillor Worship. Any discussion or / debate, depending on your wording? In that case, I will put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.
Councillor Reading.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were.
Yeah.
Oh, we've actually moved the motion.
Yeah,
so...
no, that's fine. I was just getting.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a question on this.
Well, we've actually finished it. So I did ask for questions and I asked for debate or discussion and then I put the motion. So it's right, we'll go to item 5.12, strategic risk management report. I suspect that's Leslie.
It is, yes. I'll take the report as read and then I'm sorry. I'll take the report as read and answer any questions on it. I'll just say that we've not been able to progress the strategic risks that were identified at the council workshop. Staff will need to actually look at those, look at controls and mitigating factors for those risks. We still have that work to do. We have included the operational and previous councillors' strategic risks on this report as well.
Councillor Reading.
Madam Chair, these reports were provided to us in the May council meeting. I'm just wondering why we now have them in the RAC meeting. Is there any reason?
I don't know what happened in May because I'm not part of council, but this is definitely a report for the RAC meeting. It is the risk report. It's a fundamental report to, well, risk is basically everything to do with council runs through some sort of a risk, whether good, bad, mild or major.
So am I hearing you say then, Madam Chair, that we'll get this report every quarter now rather than every month through council?
I have no idea what you're doing through council. You get the minutes from this meeting at council. So if there's any issues you wanted to raise, you could raise them again in council. That would be unusual if you're also on the RAC. However, this report comes to RAC quarterly.
This report has always been to the.
This was the workshop.
Yes.
So I wasn't a formal council
No.
just to confirm that.
Sorry, just for the absence of doubt.
That was a workshop?
This was not at full council meeting.
This was not at a full council meeting.
Okay, so therefore it hasn't been at full council meeting, so the whole question is actually irrelevant. what was a workshop, and the output of that workshop is then going to go through the processes it says in here, have the mitigations and things put in there and carried on. So yeah, if it wasn't a council meeting, that wasn't at a council meeting.
The risk report has always come to the risk and assurance, risk and audit committee. This has not been presented to the May council meeting.
You know, I think there's a confusion between workshop and council meeting. So it definitely hasn't been to a council meeting. It's come to the it had a workshop, it's come to the RAC, and it's progressing. So councillor Reedy.
We had a council meeting, toward the end of May. And each council meeting, we've had each of these reports, the financial, that's at the council meeting. Is that incorrect? Am I incorrect in saying that?
I was not at the council meeting, but my understanding was from those that were that there was no risk report. This risk report was not at the council meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct. So you're looking at the financial reports. This is the strategic risk report that we're looking at the moment.
234 of your agenda.
Oh, are you on 246? You're on the financial performance report.
Yeah.
I think you jumped ahead one
Yeah.
report, councillor.
Go to page 234, councillor Reedy. You've jumped an item.
So
You've jumped an item, I think. You're on page 234.
246.
Yeah, no, we're not on that. We're on page. No, we're on notes. Yeah. We're doing strategic. No, that's all right. We've sorted that confusion anyway.
I was going to ask a question about the risk register.
Oh, well, you can now.
And you said no.
No, we were doing.
No, we were doing Lagoma then. Lagoma, yeah.
Sorry, okay. So the question I've got then is, I always thought there was going to be, because this is risk and audit, anything with a red line on it, we'll be discussing it. But it seems to me that we're just going to say, well, tell me if I'm wrong. You got any questions? Oh, no, okay, let's just move on. But I thought the whole idea, Madam Chair, was, yeah.
This particular agenda item is a strategic risk management report, for which council has already done a workshop, started to develop a new risk register, and that risk register is now having worked on by staff. It'll come back to this meeting. In the meantime, this report has continued with the old risk register that predates probably quite a lot of people here, so that we're basically dual reporting at the moment. So that's what the risk register is about. It's not a matter of having red lines or anything as yet. It will, because once the inherent risks and the mitigations and the residual risks have been ascertained, then some of those will come up as red. So I'm not quite sure where you're going with this. I mean, if you take number 3, for example, it's got a red on it at the moment. However, at some point it will, there'll be further work done on it. So it's not things not getting discussed if they're red or not red. This is about the process that's going on, the progress of the risk management the strategic risk register. And if you also note in the report, you will see how proposals about how it can be reported in the future, whether you only report the top 10, all the criticals plus the next level down to the top 10. Do you put strategic, operational, etc.? So this is all the information's in the report. So item number 15, methodologies for reporting the risk register. This is a work in progress, and it's being developed how it's going to be reported to the committee. Councillor O'Keefe.
I'd like to move that the strategic risk management report has been received.
Seconded. Any discussion, debate before we put the motion? In that case, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, financial performance report. So now we're on to 246. Oh, who's presenting?
Okay, so this is just a financial report with an update up to the year-to-date April compared to the budget. Take the report as read. Happy to answer any questions.
But the reason why this report is on here, even though it goes to full council, is because at the end of the day, financial sustainability is a risk for any entity. And therefore, because the Risk and Audit Committee has the overarching keeping an eye on risks and being the critical friend of the council, etc., therefore I asked for this report to come on here. Now, everyone else here obviously sees this report as part of the council papers, but I don't. And it's not unusual to have some financial reporting come to the Risk and Assurance Committee. So that's the reason why the report's on here, because that's obviously, you'd be puzzling as to why you've got it twice. And it's basically that really, yes, Councillor Reedy.
Madam Chair, I was just asking, I can understand why it's on here. My question then was, we discussed this at the May council meeting. What I'm asking now is Risk and Audit Committee now going to receive these every quarter, and that the council will not monitor what's going on in the in between 2 months?
No. The Risk and Assurance
or
Committee,
one was a yes or no?
Risk and Assurance Committee will receive the latest of the financial reports that's available at the time the agenda is done for the Risk and Assurance Committee. I would agree, unless I personally, as the independent chair, have got any particular points I wish to raise, it's likely that it will be a short discussion. But that's the point of the exercise, is to have the actual level of oversight coming through this committee when it has a person on it that's not part of council. So it's not replacing anything. Council will still continue to get the monthly reports and carry on with their role of monitoring the finances. Councillor Ricky?
I know we have received this report earlier, but just a question around salary budgeting error. How did that, is that all to do with this not having the right systems in place?
A bit, but I think the bulk of it relates to the salary budget that was set in the previous year. It didn't account for all the positions that needed to be put in place. So it was a genuine error on the budgeting side. And so for the whole year, we carried that discrepancy all the way through.
Just another question too.
Yeah.
Sorry. The regulatory revenue weakening. I mean, I look at all this as well. I look at, just being in the training for the training I did yesterday, and we had a look at fees and charges, the amount of time people put into things, and are our fees and charges reflective of the amount of time that we spend on things? Yeah, what's your thoughts on that? Because it's risk around money going out. It's like time and like the time from staff, and how much do we need to sort of revisit the fees and charges again?
You want to pick that? Just from my point of view, though, I think our budgeting process this budgeting process that we've done for the annual plan has actually taken that into account.
Yeah.
So yes, going forward, we definitely are paying attention to that, and the whole of business is re-looking at that to have recoverability.
Yeah.
So my confidence level going forward is high.
Good. Yeah. Thank you.
It's a good cost accounting or management accounting question.
Yes.
Any other questions on the report? In that case, could I have a mover, please? Mover, His Worship, seconder, Councillor Hickston. And any debate or discussion?
I should have asked that in the question times too. Under key facts there, we've got a shortfall in budget of 2.29 million. Where has that come from? And also the expenditure is above budget. So what's the cause of those two?
I didn't get the first part of your question.
Shortfall income, why? And operational expenditure is below budget, why?
There's actually, to be fair, given, there is a very detailed description of all the variances in the report. So I don't, unless there's something in addition to what's already in the report.
I've explained all the lines of operational expenditure where there have been variances higher than 50,000, and on revenue as well, where there's been variances higher, both positive or negative. So it's in the details.
Yeah, so I know it's quite a long report, but it is actually.
No, that's why I asked the question. I didn't see it explained.
No, it's actually very well explained, but with the 250 odd pages.
Yes, it's on pages 247 all the way 248 and 249.
So, okay,
In that case, I will put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And we now move to investments and borrowings.
Okay, I take the report as read and happy to take any questions on that.
Any questions on investments and borrowing? Is that a hand raised or having to think about it?
I just had a question about the interest rates. I know we've spoken about this before, but
Yes.
we've seen that the interest rates across the board are generally going up higher. Have we anticipated a set interest rate when they mature on the 10th of October area? Do we have an anticipatory interest rate that we're working to?
Not at this stage, but I could have a look at that and get back to you.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about, I know it's hard, like everybody, you're trying to pick
Yes.
what the interest rates will be and the Reserve Bank will do.
Yes.
It's just, we might want to consider other lenders and all that sort of thing.
And that is a consideration that we do when it comes up for maturity. Before we reinvest, that's one of the key considerations we have, is we do that comparison of the interest rates before we lock that investment in.
Great, thanks.
Your worship?
Yeah, I guess, as this report was presented, 26th of May, has anything changed dramatically since that we should be aware of?
No, we are still, the one positive is we're still on track to end on where we've been consistently saying. We will end on our forecasted debt of 47 million. So we have actually been managing that quite well. And we are still on track to end at 47 million.
Thank you.
That's okay. You had a question or?
And I was just going, yay.
Oh.
Good.
There's no further questions. Can we have a mover, please? Councillor Kingston, and a seconder, your worship. Any discussion or debate? Not, I will put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. And we now move to next page. Let's get to that. Information technology strategy.
That one.
This manual system's not working, so I'm gonna have to go back to using the computer, sorry. I thought it would be easier with hard copy, but no. Right, debt management report.
Yes, I take the report as read. Any questions?
We go to a motion. I'm not hearing any questions. Move to worship. Seconder.
just on page 260, we've got the rate arrears. And I brought this to attention before that it seems fairly flat until the year of 24, and it's been steadily increasing since then. Is there any plan to turn the curve, get back flat again? Is there?
Yes. We are engaging in a bit more detail with Resolve. So some of the debtors with large balances that we've tried internally to collect the money from, we've now handed over the files to Resolve, and that's something in the region of around $80,000. And that has quite a big impact on this graph. We've got Resolve engaging with them. We are anticipating having a meeting with one of the debtors that owes quite a large sum at the end of July, and they're keen on actually settling with council. So that would be quite a chunk of money that we've received. We have also started to have faster turnarounds in terms of when we escalate to Resolve. Because internally we did take a little longer, and we've now shortened that time period. So we should see good progress coming in from that.
Thank you.
Councillor Keith?
Yes, so it does show that the collection process has really improved.
Sorry, there?
And the report has shown that the collection process has really improved, yeah, and the arrears have reduced. I suppose at the moving forward, it really is like there's the growing number of serious cases because of I suppose it's like, you know, affordability now, and we're kind of tracking from the orange to the red a bit where things are becoming quite unaffordable out there. And I suppose that's going to hopefully not trend too much up, you know.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's the plan. And then also we have timelines of when the debt needs to be overdue, like after the rates have been struck, that we can go to the bank to sort of claim. So there is that bit of time delay that does end up skewing the results, but we are very much on top of that. And we are also, with the serious defaults, the level of contact has improved.
So I'm saying that your processes are going great.
Yes.
But you can't control what's actually happening out in the world around,
right.
you know, people being able to afford things. So, yeah.
Yep.
No, it's just again on the trends. So not exactly on the graph that's on page 260, but the one that's not there. The one that's not there that I'm referring to is where we can identify mortgagee sales and abandoned properties and properties already subject to court orders. I'd like to see those in a graph over time to establish whether we're heading for problems in the future, which I certainly believe we are, because I see the number of shops on the main street that are shutting down, and others that were where there were businesses now have support agencies. So I was just wondering if we can have that in a graph.
Yes, we can look at time, separate that.
It's a longer period of time.
We can put that in a graph.
Get a feel for it.
Councillor Hickson?
Yeah, I was just want to talk about leasehold properties and rental arrears, given that it's a contentious issue in a lot of areas about council held property. Do we adopt a commercial style rental property business, i.e. we give people notices when they've got unpaid rent or unpaid leases, and then we follow through those notices, and then we serve eviction notices? Or do we adopt a different approach?
We are currently working through property brokers, so I will need to go a little bit deeper into what their process is, because it's not handled by us. Because they are the managing agent for those properties.
Oh yeah, well that would tend to suggest then that we adopt a commercial approach or a standard approach, which is pretty much my question. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Keith?
I'd like to move that the report has been received.
Do I have a seconder, please? Your worship. Any further debate or discussion? In which case I will put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you. Right, we'll now move into public excluded. Oh, sorry.
516.
This is, no, I've not passed your KPI for managing all this paperwork, I can absolutely tell you. Luckily, I have good support. 5.16. Just give a brief summary of the report, and people who may have questions.
Yes, yeah.
Would you like the report taken as read and answer any questions on it?
Yep, I can do that.
Yeah. Right then, anyone got any questions on this report? Page 264, Colin. No questions, you'll be absolutely disappointed.
Yeah, sure.
So we've heard a lot about the, today, about the AI strategy going forward.
Yeah.
How, interwoven are the two strategies that, or the two approaches that we've got here with information management and the AI strategy going forward?
So, those two are going hand in hand, like, because these days, like AI are getting like used in a very much of large scale. So we have like done a background check with the co-pilot and their team, like how their data security is happening, and then how our council data is being used. So like we do have E3 license, so that makes us sure that our whatever data that has been produced are not going into like training the model or something. And as well as like with the policy, we are like telling all the stuff like how the policies, how the AI should be used, what kind of data should be uploaded, or what are the technique you can use, and also like all the AI apps that all the staff are asking for, like those are being like screened by the IT department and IM department in terms of data and how long it should be stored, or if they're producing any kind of like data using the AI or any kind of AI used tool, and if that falls under any kind of copyright issue or like those kind of issue, and like in terms of like marking it as like a reference from AI or those terms. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah,
I don't have a question. I'll just make a comment that, this very detailed report and well done. There's some very good information in here about, particularly about going forward.
Yep.
Councillor Reading.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just how do I pronounce your name? Ankit, is it spelled?
So sorry, my name is Umais. I'm here on behalf of Ankit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, point number 4, executive summary. This report provides an update on the BDC information technology strategy, 26 to 31 strategy. I've never seen a strategy before, so we're providing an update, but I've never seen a strategy before. So is this something new?
Yeah.
It's something new.
Yeah.
Sorry, through the chair. So and it's going through SLT.
Yeah.
Can I look around for a minute? So what's the story there, please, Simon Pickford, in terms of the strategy? We've never seen one before. It's supposed to form part of the long-term plan. So how does that fit into the long-term plan? Because I've never seen one before.
So I think I understand what you're asking. So I guess this is an IT strategy that formalizes our journey, our pathway forward in the IT space. So we've had something informal before, but I don't think we've ever had a formal strategy that we could look at internally and say whether something fits or doesn't. So what we're doing today is bring forward the strategy to show you and give you assurance, like we have in the IM space and the health and safety space, that we have a plan, that it's clear, it's articulated. There will be things in here that obviously will require funding, and they are LTP issues, annual plan considerations. So those will come back. So we're not asking you at this stage for anything in terms of funding. We have our funding envelope, which you have set within our long-term plan, and we do a number of projects under that. But this strategy for IT will be something we'll be bringing back to you as technology evolves, because it's such an ever-changing tool. We want to make sure we leverage the best out of it for our community. So yeah, that's what this strategy is all about. It just really formalizes what we've already been doing in a really comprehensive, cohesive way, so it's understood by the organisation and helps our investment decisions.
Right, so we'll come to that. This is a strategy document. Any further questions? I've got, this is not a question, this is just, I'm not aware of I didn't know about the Essential 8 maturity model, so I'm going to look that up and get that to my, my background in this field.
Okay.
No further questions? Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Your Worship. A seconder. Councillor Reynolds. Any debate or discussion?
I've been broadcasting my thoughts all this time. Yeah, I think it's a great strategy. I've seen a few of them. This is all good. The only thing I'd ask is, do we have somebody looking at how we enable our long-term plan with information management? So I know this is all about the council managing its own business pretty much. I just wondered if there's something in the long-term plan or something elsewhere that says we're going to enable the long-term plan through this approach to information management in the Buller district.
It does actually say point 11 that this is a foundational document informing the long-term plan. So it's not actually, I think, gone slightly out of it,
Yeah, I get it. That's where my point originates from. It says that, but then it talks about internal information management within the Buller District Council, and how they're going to enable the council to enable the long-term plan. That's the way I read it. But to my mind, there's and I'm talking now from an economic development prosperity perspective, where we want to encourage IT firms here, where we want to build and grow the information management use amongst the community. And I know it's not directly related to this.
Yeah, because we're getting out of scope again, because that's actually economic development, encouraging firms to come here, etc. All those kind of things. That's
I'll shut
a very
up.
interesting topic that I very much enjoy, but it's not it's the wrong. I'm happy to give you input in it, later if it's something you're interested in. I'll even pounce on venture capital and be a right pest. But it's a good topic, but no, I don't think it's the one for this particular agenda item. So I'll put the motion. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.
Oh, dear.
And we will now go ahead and move it.
Because you've got the next one.
Could I have a mover, please, that the public be excluded from the following parts of the proceedings of this meeting? 6.2. Thank you. Seconded. Seconded by His Worship. All in favour? Against?
Sorry, Councillor Reader.
Hang off anyway. I will just sit here quietly for a minute while the stream goes off.